The man had just spent the night at his ex-girlfriend's house, but when he woke up, he found the place in complete disarray. The once lively room was now eerily empty, and there were horrifying bloodstains on the walls. Grabbing an ashtray for protection, he couldn't comprehend what had happened. As he approached the door, he saw his ex-girlfriend sitting in the stairwell. He called out to her softly, but she suddenly lunged at him, her face covered in blood. Terrified, he slammed the door shut just in time. His ex-girlfriend, now a zombie, furiously pounded on the door, trying to get in. When the noise outside finally ceased, the man cautiously approached the window. Looking out, he saw the street was eerily deserted. As he stood there, bewildered, he noticed a family frantically trying to escape by car. In the next instant, a horde of zombies swarmed them, and their horrific screams filled the air. Terrified and in shock, the man thought to call his parents for comfort. However, when he checked his phone, he was horrified to find a farewell message from them instead. The man, unsure of what to do next, decided to head to the rooftop to see if there were any other survivors. After scanning the surroundings and finding no one, he realized he was on his own. Resigned to his fate, he started cleaning the floor, trying to keep his mind occupied. Suddenly, he heard gunshots coming from the floor below. Puzzled, he bent down to listen more closely when a bullet suddenly pierced through the floor, startling him. Peering through the bullet hole, he saw that the old man downstairs had shot himself. Curious and determined, the man used a rope to rappel down to the floor below, hoping to find some useful supplies. He picked up the old man's hunting rifle and cautiously descended the stairs. Taking advantage of the zombie's distraction, he quietly closed and secured the front door on the first floor. He then began methodically searching each apartment for supplies, making sure to close and mark the doors of any rooms that contained zombies. After thoroughly rummaging through every possible hiding place, he managed to gather all the usable supplies from the entire building. Although the collection wasn't vast, it was enough to sustain him for a while. Gathering the supplies, the man headed for the elevator to return to his apartment. To his shock, he found the old man's zombie inside. Instead of killing it, he used a belt to secure the zombie in the elevator, effectively trapping it. In the days that followed, the man began living in a solitary sort of revelry. He would listen to music, exercise, and even entertain himself by shooting at zombies with a toy gun. Being someone who naturally enjoyed solitude, he found a peculiar satisfaction in his new routine. However, the underlying fear of the situation still haunted him, leading to frequent nightmares where he was torn apart by a horde of zombies. Perhaps due to the prolonged isolation, the zombie old man in the elevator became his only conversational companion. The man lived like this for a long time until he spotted a stray cat through his toy gun sights. Excited, he hurried to the first floor, hoping to lure the cat with some food. However, the cat, wary of its dangerous surroundings, quickly vanished from sight. Determined to find the stray cat, the man ventured outside, despite the risks. Unfortunately, not only did he fail to find the cat, but he also found himself in a perilous situation. A zombie spotted him, forcing the man to quickly take refuge in a nearby car. To make matters worse, another zombie heard the commotion and came rushing toward him. He kicked the zombie away with all his strength, then scrambled into the back seat, opened the door, and managed to escape. Shaken and out of breath, the man noticed his hand was bleeding profusely. Panic set in as he wondered if he had been bitten. Rushing back to his apartment, he frantically checked his body for any signs of infection. The fear of turning into one of those creatures was overwhelming. Desperate and terrified, he grabbed the hunting rifle and pointed it under his chin, determined to end his life if he showed any symptoms. He remained in this tense position, gun in hand, well into the night. At that moment, the hunting rifle suddenly discharged, jolting the man awake. Thankfully, he was unharmed and had not turned into a zombie. Overjoyed, he felt a rush of relief. However, the realization soon set in. How long could he survive alone? Even if he didn't get infected, the oppressive environment could drive him mad. In an attempt to vent his pent-up emotions, he began to act out, making as much noise as possible. This reckless behavior attracted nearby zombies. He shouted at the horde below and taunted them by playing a drum set loudly. The zombies below responded with growls and gnashing teeth. That night, the man was startled awake by a noise coming from outside his door. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger, thinking it was a zombie. To his shock, it was a living, breathing woman. He quickly dragged her inside and began treating her wound. After some effort, he managed to stabilize her condition and save her life. It turned out that she had spotted him through a camera and had come to team up with him for survival. However, her attempt to join forces was met with a bullet before she could even get inside. After a brief period of getting to know each other, the woman expressed her concerns that the place was no longer safe. The zombies would eventually break in, and their food supplies were running dangerously low. Considering these factors, she suggested that they leave as soon as possible to find a new shelter. The man, however, was reluctant to take the risk and believed staying put was the safer option. Their differing opinions led to an argument, but after some reflection, the man realized the woman was right. Rather than cowering in fear, it was better to venture out and seek a better chance at survival. When he returned to the room, he found the woman already cold and lifeless. It turned out everything had been a hallucination. She had died from the gunshot wound when she first arrived. The realization that he had killed the only other survivor he had met broke him completely. After giving her a simple burial, he resolved not to sit idly any longer. The woman's backpack contained a lot of mountaineering gear, and he planned to use this equipment to leave. He burned all the cassette tapes he loved and released the old man zombie who had been his sole companion. Strangely, the zombie, perhaps having developed a unique bond with the man, didn't attack him but instead walked straight back into his own room. With everything set, just as the man was about to leave, the fire alarm suddenly blared. The fire he had set to burn his tapes had triggered the alarm, and the loud noise drew the zombies to break through the door and lunge at him. After taking down 2 zombies, he ran out of shotgun shells. Abandoning the gun, he dived into the elevator shaft, but the cramped space allowed the zombies to grab at his face. With no other option, he began to climb upwards. As soon as he reached the next floor, he saw the zombies following him up. He quickly got up and started running up the stairs, with the zombies close behind. In a desperate move, the man covered the zombie with a white cloth. The zombie, now blind, stumbled around in confusion. Taking advantage of this, the man used a sofa to pin the zombie down and climbed back into his apartment through the gap he had created earlier. To his dismay, the room was now filled with more zombies. Fortunately, the smoke obstructed their view, allowing him to make his way to the rooftop. Once there, he secured a rope and successfully threw a grappling hook onto the opposite building's rooftop. Just as the zombies closed in, he tied the rope around his waist and leapt across the gap. The jump knocked him unconscious, but he was safe and not seriously injured. Upon waking, the man clung to the rope and climbed up to the rooftop. Though temporarily safe, his journey for survival was far from over. As he gazed out at the desolate landscape, uncertainty clouded his thoughts. He had no idea where to go next or where to find other survivors.